We want to use the incremental advancement towards extending passenger rail around Hampton Roads. We are simply setting the table with these bills in the General Assembly today. This is the cancer of light rail spreading out.
Does that mean they think they're going to put light rail over to the Eastern Shore?
Yes, eventually they do have that in the plan. There is 130 miles of light rail in the master plan at a current cost of $36 billion with a B. That's current dollars. That's not the cost of the dollars of when they're going to build it. New for Virginia Beach. I'm going to have to kind of move through this. When we first started our light rail, we were going to run it from downtown Norfolk down the Norfolk Southern right-of-way, and it would stop near the oceanfront by the pavilion at 19th Street. There's a bunch of reasons why people want to do light rail. The main reason is they hope that if you have a fixed rail system, you'll encourage high-density redevelopment along the rail line, increase the property values, build vertical, like little urban cities. And when you do that, the city will reap greater tax returns, but they won't have to extend infrastructure out to greenlands like sewers and police and schools. So the thought is that there's more money flowing into the city as you grow population, and that going urban and dense is a good idea. Problem is, that rail line runs straight by Oceana, right through crash zones. And in the deal the city had to make with Oceana so they wouldn't leave through the BRAC process, we already committed to not developing along there. So a large section of that rail line that we paid $40 million for, we won't be able to redevelop because it's not compatible with urban development because it's at the end of the runway. What do we do? Oh, I know, let's run it to Hilltops. Yeah, that's a good idea. So, alternative 3 was born. We're going to reroute the train, forget the fact that we bought the right-of-way, it'll just sit there and have grass in it. And, I guess it'll be green space. Anyway, that jacks up the cost to, and I'm not making these numbers up, I got them from HRT, $1.31 billion for 13.5 miles of rail to move, at best, 8,000 people a day. Alternative 2 is the old one that goes straight down to the ocean front. That's 12.2 miles from Newtown Road. Now, something you need to understand. When you get a federal New Starts program, a grant, for 2 years the federal government will subsidize the cost of operations, the daily, day-to-day cost of running the light rail. In year 3, whatever city you're in, that city council is responsible for almost 100%. In Virginia, we kicked some money in, but if it wasn't for the state, Norfolk would be responsible for the whole cost of running the rail. They haven't had to pay that yet because they get this 2-year grace period. If we run light rail 5 inches across Newtown Road within the border of Virginia Beach, we suddenly have to do a share in the cost of Norfolk's expenses for operations and maintenance. And I brought that up at the meeting. We have a slide that's going to talk about that. So of course, Phil Chiquette, our good buddy, and it's a long story, he has a private proposal where he's willing to pay the money and raise it privately just to extend the rail to Rosemont Road from Newtown Road. The cost of that, $470 million, with a local cost of our share of $2.8 million a year, and the buses will cost $9 million a year to run, the feeder buses. If you go on the HRT website, we're talking about the Virginia Beach Transit Extension Study. Here is the website address. This study is not yet complete, but they had a series of public hearings, and I went as your representative for the Virginia Beach Taxpayers Alliance, went and gathered the information, filled this notebook with the information that was provided at the meeting, and was given all of these really nice, wonderful handouts that talk about the new rail lines, all the costs, all the figures. I've taken that information and put them into the slides for you. So what what is it? Well, folks, this is an eye chart. You couldn't read this if you tried. Heck, I couldn't read it when I was putting it together. So I kind of blew it up a little bit to show you. Alternative 1, these are the proposals. For $400 million, they're going to run from Newtown Road here, over here to Rosemont Road and stop. Good deal, folks. I like that. Woohoo! Alternative 2 is the original plan from Newtown Road, straight down to the ocean front, over by the convention center. Alternative 3, let's take a detour. Forget the fact that we bought the light rail line. Let's go take a tour up to Hilltop, kind of run down Laskin Road. Let's hang a right-hand turn, which by the way blocks traffic because it's in the road. And then we'll go down here to Bird Neck and we'll take another 90-degree turn, which blocks traffic because it's in the road, it's not elevated. And then we'll go down to the convention center. There's your $1.3 billion option. But from the city's point of view, because you've done this, you can now do transit-oriented development and redevelopment all along this area. So I think there's a benefit to that. Acquisitions and displacements. They were very wishy-washy about this. But here is the Hilltop extension, and according to HRT, it's going to take 2 houses, 49 businesses, and no government facilities. However, until the final design, they will not identify what properties will be taken. It said so in the meeting on the 20th. How much of the design is currently done, even with the study? I was shocked to find out at the meeting that it is 5%. So these numbers are based on 5% of the design and analysis. HRT, 5% is complete. They admitted in the meeting when they were asked that they have grossly underestimated the cost of property, and they think they're way off the mark in their estimates because they're finding that it costs more money to condemn businesses than they originally thought. During the meeting, it was stated by Reid of HRT, light rail is not a solution for traffic congestion, and no one ever said it was. When I got the microphone, I asked Mr. Reid, I said, it's kind of funny because we had this $400,000 PAC during this recent referendum on light rail, and they ran ads about exploring light rail and how it would reduce traffic. Why, here's their ad. Yes, it was a movehamptonroads.com telling you to vote yes for light rail, telling people that it was about exploring light rail, not actually building light rail. Anybody in here know who the chairman of this $449 million $1,000 PAC was? Anybody? Aubrey Lane. Sure. Aubrey Lane is the person who was the chairman of the PAC to force a yes vote with these deceptive ads for the referendum. So, I was sent as your representative to go to the Virginia Beach Transit Extension public hearing conducted on February 10th at Town Center. This is the article, an inside business about that meeting, where I'm going to give you the information. Julie Trim got up and talked about the benefits of light rail. We were told the benefits, because it doesn't reduce traffic congestion, are redevelopment. Anybody remember that every single time in the city of Virginia Beach, we the people were asked, do we want a redevelopment authority? And we told them no, because it requires a ballot initiative to get a housing and redevelopment. We are the largest city in the Commonwealth of Virginia not to have a housing and redevelopment authority, because we are smart enough to know we can't trust our city council with the power to condemn and take our homes for economic development reasons. The forum talked about this. It's your 4.8 mile, 470 million, your 12.2 straight to the ocean front, 1.1 billion and some change, your 13 mile, which goes up to Hilltop, 1.31 billion. These are all in 2018 dollars. Redevelopment was the primary thing. This is a quote from the article. This is me. I was there representing the Virginia Beach Taxpayers Alliance. I asked a lot of questions. I got quoted because I said, how come we're not going to have a ballot initiative once you know what it costs and where it's going to go? We held a ballot initiative when we didn't know what it would cost. That's not really asking anybody. That Jaguar is beautiful. I really love that Jaguar. How much does it cost? Well, vote on it and tell me if you want it or not, and I'll tell you what it costs later. So, the other thing I want to point out, and this is just exemplary of the way the media works, okay? I was identified as Virginia Beach Taxpayer Alliance and Hampton Roads Tea Party. This woman, Carolyn McPherson, was identified as Virginia Beach resident who said, ridership at Newtown expresses a pent-up demand for rail in Virginia Beach. You see this? This is a quote out of the article. Who is Carolyn McPherson? Why, she's the executive director of Light Rail Now. Isn't that interesting? And if you look at her bio on LinkedIn a little further, what do you see? She's a former special vice president of Amerigroup Corporation. Who founded Amerigroup? Who was her boss? Oh, Senator Jeff McWaters founded her and was the CEO of Amerigroup. Isn't it cozy how these relationships come up? Yet, she's identified, as you can tell, as Virginia Beach resident Carolyn McPherson. So next, Ray Amorezo said we're going to have public hearings. There'll be a federal determination this fall in front of City Council about building it. Which of the three alternatives will be our preferred local alternative? Officials are looking for state and federal to fund 75% of the cost to build and operate light rail. That is misleading. City officials are weighing 3 private proposals to extend light rail, one of them by Phil Chiquette. They're outside of this process. Who pays? Under a fully funded grant, under the New Starts program, 25% is paid by the state, 25% is paid by your local government, and 50% is paid by the federal government. But folks, what does that mean to us? You need to understand something. What is 25% of $1.31 billion? That's $327 million the city of Virginia, we are going to have to pay just to build it, not operate it year after year after year. That's what we have to pay as our share to build a 13-mile train that moves 8,000 people a day. Question I asked: if the tide extends into Virginia Beach, are we going to bail out Mayor Frame because his little thing's going to run out? Answer: it depends on your regional, through the TPO, cost allocation agreement and a determination by the TPO of what they call revenue hours of service. While that answer doesn't seem clear to you, what it's saying is yes. This is a picture of me from the article. This is me representing you, okay, at the hearing. And our good friend Delcina Miles is there holding the microphone and sucking off taxpayer dollars. And those of you who know her understand why that's amazing.
And she's with us this morning.
Yeah, there she is. My family and I have been fighting light rail for a very long time, if you don't know me. This is me when I first got interested in everything and I met Mr. Dean for the first time. There's my daughter Marina holding her "Don't Make Me Pay for Light Rail" sign. This is my daughter today as she cheers for the ODU Monarchs and as a freshman in college. Folks, they never give up, so we never can give up. This is the sign I brought to that first meeting, and nothing has changed. Light rail will drive us to the poorhouse and eat tax dollars. Pop quiz. Why are we doing this? Well, we paid $6.6 million for a Virginia Beach Transportation Extension study. And what is it supposed to do? Well, I thought it was supposed to reduce traffic congestion, maybe improve air quality. You know, like all those things the Move Hampton Road people told us we'd get if we voted yes. No. From the study, the goals are improve access, operation of public transit, provide cost-effective, efficient travel to connect residents with employment areas. Residents with employment areas? Oh, I guess if you work at Hilltop. Love this. Implement service and manage growth in vehicle miles traveled and support Development of sustainable and livable communities. For those of you that have ever read Agenda 21, that's verbatim out of Agenda 21. Support Virginia Beach economic development, consistent with the comprehensive plan and strategic growth areas. Support tourism in Virginia Beach. Support preservation of the environment. Not really sure how we're doing that since we're actually taking wetlands, but whatever. Notice there's not a word on here about reducing traffic congestion or improving air quality. What's it going to cost? One of the things that HRT did at their presentation is they just sort of conveniently forgot to mention bond debt service. Folks, we have to pay that every single year. We're going to float $327 million in bonds, 6.6% interest over 22 years. What's it going to cost us? Our share of that is $24 million a year for the bond debt. What's our cost to subsidize the riders a year on 13.5 miles? $14.9 million a year. What's the cost to subsidize the feeder bus system? According to HRT, in their numbers, which we know are kind of questionable, it's between $8 million and $10.5 million a year. So we'll split the difference and we'll call it $9.25 million a year. Add it all up, every single year, Virginia Beach, right on the top of our budget, is going to have a $48.1 million hit. And if you've ever looked at our 5-year plan, folks, we're going broke. Our expenses versus revenues are widening the gap, and we are in a crisis situation in Virginia Beach. We don't have the money to build this train. Average speed, 15 miles per hour. It is a slow-moving financial train wreck for our Virginia Beach budget. Brought to you by Hampton Roads Transit. In November of 2002, when we went to the ballot, we had 40 candidates for city council and school board. We got to pick a congressman, a senator, a president. We had a state constitutional amendment on just compensation when your government seizes private property. And in all that noise and all that politics, we also had to vote on a referendum for light rail. So this was the ballot question. Should the city of Virginia Beach adopt an ordinance proving all reasonable efforts to support the financing and development, build, the tide in Virginia Beach? Thanks to the $449,000 PAC run by our state transportation secretary, Aubrey Lane, our wise and wonderful voters in Virginia Beach voted 62%. Let's do it. Woohoo! Let's explore light rail. Oh wait, we didn't vote for that? We voted to build it? Wait, that's not what I voted for. Maybe we need another referendum. Who is the person in the Virginia pilot picture celebrating the historical victory? Why, it's our old friend Carolyn McPherson, the Virginia Beach resident. Here is the ad from Move Hampton Roads, talking about we're going to create construction jobs, we all benefit, it's going to save gas, it's going to reduce congestion. Wait, didn't they just tell us it doesn't reduce congestion? It's going to avoid tax increases, and it's going to make you smarter. Here's our mayor, and Aubrey Lane headed up the PAC. This time it was $300,000. I went to BPAP when it was all said and done, and it was all balanced out, and the $300,000 turned into $449,000 if you want to look it up. Town Bank donated $25,000. William Harrison, former city council member, was the one that was leading this. He's also the chairman of the Citizen Transportation Advisory Committee through the TPO. This is all very incestuous and convenient. I told you they're moving all the chess pieces across the board. They're lining them all up. This is happening all around you. We have to do something about this. In Virginia Beach, how many times do we have to say no? 1999, we said no to light rail. But the main thing is, it's not about moving people, it's about redevelopment. And every single time we've had a ballot initiative for redevelopment, we've said no. City Council said, screw you guys. We'll go this way. We'll get an all-appointed regional authority, we'll get the federal powers of eminent domain, And we'll redevelop to our heart's content. Hey, let's go to Hilltop. That could use some redevelopment. If you don't take anything away, strategic growth areas give you HRTs